The Detroit Pistons secure a great team win without Cade Cunningham tonight against the San Antonio Spurs. They clinched 500 on March 25th. We'll talk about this game, how well Marcus Sasser played in today's episode, Locked On Pistons podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Koo Cahill. You can find me over on Twitter at Koo Cahill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. There's another great way to support the podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. If you want to watch Pistons games with me and the rest of the fan base, I'll link the playback room down below where you can join and watch live Pistons games with me and, like I said, the rest of the Pistons fan base. We didn't have one for Saturday or for this game against the San Antonio Spurs because I was at the game, but moving forward, games will be streamed over there, so if you want to watch, you can join over there. Also, if you haven't followed my Substack yet, I just wrote about Ausar Thompson and his struggles lately, what's behind him, what's going on, doing all kinds of content over there. If you haven't already, I'll put the link down below for you guys to check that out as well. Later on, should the Pistons find more minutes for Marcus Sasser in the rotation? Also later on, turns out Ausar Thompson's fine. He's okay. He's a fine player. But first, I want to talk about just how big of a team win this was. So, like I said, I was able to go to this game. Shout out to Cannon. Absolute big time. Real one. Was absolutely a pleasure, and he was super dope. Appreciate you, man. You're a real one for real. But got to be really close to the game, right on the baseline, and got to hear and see things that you don't normally hear, at games. And one thing I want to say before we even get into this win versus the Spurs, the Pistons won 122-96. The veterans, when you're at the game this close, the veterans pop off even more than they do on screen. Even more so if you're at the games that have really good seats. Being that close, you really see just how much importance the vets have. Like, for example, THJ. THJ gets a lot of flack from some of the fans. Some of the fans always make some jokes about THJ. THJ had a good game tonight. 12 points, 4 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from deep. I feel like he's somewhat underrated attacking closeouts and getting to the rim and, catching driving. But that's the game. Him scoring isn't what I'm talking about. THJ talks a ton on both ends of the floor to his teammates, on rotations. He's constantly talking, and I'm sorry for hitting my mic just now, but he's constantly talking and communicating with his teammates and helping them get in the right positions. And when there's a mishap or there's a miscue or miscommunication, he's right up to the coaching staff, helping them. Hey, what went wrong there? Who messed up? What? And then he's going right back to the players. He's talking with the players. That's big time for this team. They need some veteran presence like that. Tobias was helping nonstop throughout the game defensively with everyone in front of him, communicating, connecting. The vets, I thought that was the biggest thing. Malik as well. Malik was always talking. All of them were just nonstop talking to help communicate with these young players. There was one moment in this game that I thought was really, it was fun to see and really, I thought, helped the Pistons really break out of this game. So early on, the Spurs hit a lot of shots at the beginning of this game. They hit a few threes right out the gate of this game. And JB screamed onto the floor, shoring up these closeouts. You guys got to shore up these closeouts. And then right after that, who was the person to lead the Pistons and let them know, listen, we're going to be a lot better on these closeouts. We have to be a lot better. It was Tobias. Tobias Harris tags down on a pick and roll, gets out on the closeout really fast, and then forces a turnover on the drive. Next possession, he tags down, takes the pass away from the roller, steals that pass. Next play after that, and after that, the Pistons' whole team got better in closing out. They were all more attentive on their closeouts, and a team that was shooting really well from beyond the arc to start the game ended up shooting 31% with the Spurs. So I thought that was big, and that's one of those things that you maybe don't see during the game, that you don't hear when you're at the game or watching the game. You don't see that part, but that was the one thing I'd say if I took away anything from being that close, is that the veterans are not just needed in the box score, but they are sorely needed as just communicators on the floor and helping lead this team when they're on the floor. So I absolutely loved seeing that. I thought that was big time, and I loved being able to witness that and see that take place. But this was a team win from everyone. Cade didn't play in this game. Last game they didn't play without Cade. It was a little too close for comfort. This game, the Pistons made sure to go out and handle their business and get up early and hold on to that lead throughout the game. They ended up winning this game by 26. My math isn't great no more. But ended up winning by 26 within this game. Lindy Waters got minutes. Paul Reed ended up getting minutes. And they were controlled throughout this entire game. Assur Thompson, we'll talk about him later, but he had a nice game tonight. 6 of 10 shooting, 14 points. Tobias, 15 points on 10 shots. Hit 3 threes in this game. Jaylen Duren, 14.7 assists. Led the team, by the way, everybody. Led the team in assists in this game. THA had 12 points and 7 shots. Malik Beasley, 13 points. Marcus Sasser, we're going to talk about in the next segment, went crazy in this game at 27 points. Ron Holland continued to have a good game. He had 8.6 rebounds, 2 assists. Stu had 3 blocks in barely 20 minutes of action. Didn't even get to 20 minutes, actually. 19 minutes and 43 seconds. Had 3 blocks in those minutes. Just fantastic team win. Everyone contributed to this win. And before we get into the next segment talking about Sasser, there's actually someone I want to talk about here. Jaylen Duren's passing. They were, again, being so close and being right behind JB, you get to hear things. And JB in this game was again, I'm not that close all the time, so I don't know if this is something they do all the time, but it felt like he was making a point to, without Cade, we are going to play through Jaylen Duren. We are going to play through him, and we're going to call plays that get him with the ball in his hands and open him up as a playmaker. And he was repeatedly calling out plays. JD, get ready. JD, get ready. They ran so many actions with JD as the ball handler, and he had 7 assists to just 1 turnover. There was one play that they were trying to run for 3-4 straight possessions. Now, they ended up getting some other buckets out of it before they could even get to the final action that JB wanted to get to. But this play, they had both JD and Ausar Thompson at the high post there. I think they ran it out of the horn set. Dennis Schroeder brought it down, passed it to Duren, who was on the right high post. He cut through, and then the opposite weak side had a shooter coming up, and Assur went to set the screen on that weak side, but then slipped it, and then Duren gave him a nice underhand pass to Ausar Thompson for an easy dunk. Like, they were using multiple different actions to utilize Jaylen Duren's playmaking, and it felt like JB without Cade was like, listen, JD, you are going to be our offensive hub in the second in the half court offense. You are going to be our hub. You are going to create offense for others. You are going to create offense for yourself here, and we're going to play through you. And a lot of his buckets as well, he scored 6 points. A lot of these buckets were self-created. A lot of them were drives to the rim on Bismack Biyombo, who I shocked that he's still in the league, but he was creating shots for himself. There was even a possession in transition. I remember turning to my side and saying to Ken, like, no way they just ran this for a 5-man. That's pretty crazy. But JD gets a defensive rebound, doesn't outlet it. JB just tells him, run, go. He gets it off the glass. He's pushing in transition. Assur, who was already down the floor in the dunker spot, sees JD coming up, and he flies up to the top of the key, and they run a 5-4 pick and roll. They run a pick and roll in transition. Within the first 7 seconds of the shot clock, Duren leading the break, they run a pick and roll with JD and Assur. Assar's the screener. Assur slips it. JD drives. Now, JD ended up losing this one. He ended up getting fouled, I believe. He got slapped across the arm. So they didn't end up getting a bucket out of it. But the fact that the Pistons feel comfortable enough to run a 5-4 pick and roll, not out of the half court, but in transition, is absolutely bonkers to me. That is not normal stuff. You don't see every day, every starting center in the NBA getting defensive rebounds, going the full length, and then having a 5-4 pick and roll ran in transition. That was just crazy. I think that was probably, even though it didn't even end up in a bucket, it was probably the most fun action I saw today that close. I could not believe I saw them run that. That's not normal, and that kind of speaks to what JD brings to this team. JD being able to create off the dribble and have that kind of ball handling in his game as a 5-man, when he's giving you that, and he's also giving you this effort defensively that he's been giving the last few months, it makes him truly a special player, and a special player to have in your lineup with Cade, with Assur, with Jaden Ivey, who, by the way, was on the bench and full of energy, super excited for his teammates all over the place. Super cool to see him like that. But JD was the one that really, I know Sasser had a great game. We'll talk about him later. But JD and how they used him within the half court was really what jumped off the, I wasn't watching on TV, so not the screen, but jumped off the court to me. He's special offensively, man. He brings you special traits offensively that other bigs don't bring you. And it makes him a special prospect, a very special prospect. And he's playing extremely well. He's continuing to play just incredible for the Pistons. But let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel about this win. Pistons get this win without Cade Cunningham. By the way, like I mentioned in the cold open, they have now gotten to 41 wins. They have secured at least a 500 record on March 25th. They have a few weeks to go. I will not be able to, I guess I have to say, I will not say this enough. The fact that we are saying these things this early into the season, now I know we're at the end, but if anyone told you with a few weeks left in the season that the Pistons would already clinch a 500 or better record, it's just truly crazy and remarkable the kind of season the Pistons are having. It's remarkable. Look, I know it's not going to end in a championship, but this truly has been a magical season for this franchise coming off what happened last year and for this fan base. This is the fun part, when there's no expectations and they're playing like this and just exceeding any expectations you possibly could have had. This is a lot of fun, and this is a lot of fun covering the team, and I'm happy for these guys after what they witnessed last year, had to go through last year, for them to have this type of success this early. I'm happy for these guys. I'm happy for the fan base too. This is a special season. So let me know how you guys are feeling down below in the comment section or over on Twitter at KukaHill. Marcus Sasser went crazy in this game. 27 points on just 12 shots. Should Marcus Sasser get more minutes moving forward? We'll talk about that coming up. There's nothing like watching basketball live. Trust me, I can tell you. I was just there. It was tremendous. The vibe of LCA has been immaculate this year. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, maybe even celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out all the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I just checked the Game Time app, and there are amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up. Game Time Picks even highlights super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck. With seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. If you want to watch Pistons games with me and the rest of the fan base, Playback Room, link down below, join the room. Get notified anytime we go live for a Pistons game. Also, if you want to join me over on Substack, see some of my written work. We've talked about Cade Cunningham. I've broken down some of his games as of late. We broke down Ausar Thompson's recent struggles. We talked about how much of an impact Tobias Harris has had. We have game recaps, all that stuff, daily coverage for you guys over there as well. I'll link that down below for you guys. And we have a 50% off subscription deal going on until the end of March. Get a subscription for as little as $3 a month. So if you want to check that out, again, in the description down below. Marcus Sasser had easily his best game of the year in this win versus San Antonio Spurs. Without Cade Cunningham for the back-to-back games, he got a chance. He had a chance to play elevated minutes for longer stretches and be able to get into a rhythm, which he absolutely did in this game against the Spurs. He had 27 points, 9 of 12 shooting, 5 of 7 from deep, 4 of 5 from free throw. He had only 1 assist, but we're going to get into that later because that's where I want to go with this. Because I already see a lot of people saying Marcus Sasser deserves more minutes. Marcus Sasser deserves more minutes. Now, look, this is the thing. He played tremendous tonight, absolutely. And I've said, for those of you guys who've listened to the podcast for a while, going all the way back, even if you just started listening this year, you guys will know, I've said Marcus Sasser, this is the difference between Sasser and other picks the Pistons have drafted in the first round that just haven't worked out. I believe Sasser has NBA talent. Like, I believe Sasser is an NBA player. I believe he is an NBA player. I believe he is an NBA level scorer. I believe he is a definite NBA level shot creator, an NBA level shooter. The problem is he's not a point guard, and they've throughout the year and throughout his career, they've tried to force him into playing point guard. When he's able to just focus on being a scorer, when he's not being forced to be this playmaker, when he's not being forced to try to run the offense, to be a floor general, that kind of thing, when he's able to play and do the things he's great at, which is scoring, shot creation, shooting, when he's able to do that stuff, he usually plays pretty damn good. And that's what he did tonight. He only had 1 assist, but he wasn't being asked to play make. You were leaving that for JD. You were leaving that for Schroeder. You were leaving that for AT. Like, those are the guys you were asking to play make for you. And Sasser was allowed to not play just an off-ball, even though he was off-ball some and hit some threes. He was able to just attack a defense in a scoring mindset. The ball gets swung to him, he's attacking as a scorer. He's not coming up having to run a pick and roll, had to try to make some reads off it. He's being asked to be a scorer, and he was fantastic in this tonight. Watching the game, probably some of the best individual highlights that close was Sasser. Sasser's shot creation and the space he makes on his dribble moves, on his size ups, on his step backs, he creates a crap ton of room for himself to get shots off. For a guy so small, it doesn't matter because he creates so much room and he has a high release for his size. He gets shots off, 1, pretty quickly, and 2, really over any contest it's going to happen because he's creating so much space. This dude is a flat-out scorer. He's a flat-out scorer, and I was talking with, I was talking with everyone around me tonight. Like, I've said this on the podcast too. I've said it on the podcast before. If Marcus Sasser was on another team, when he was just being asked to be that spark plug off the bench, if he was being asked to just be, hey, we need you to come off, be this microwave scorer, come in, your mindset is to come in, score the basketball, get shots up, somewhat of a Jordan Clarkson type of role, something like that. If he was asked to be that, I think he would do really well with that on a different team. This is the problem when you start asking for, when Cade's healthy, more minutes for him. 1, okay, whose minutes is he taking? So he's not taking any of the wings minutes because that's not who he's competing with. Who he's competing with is Schroeder. Who he's competing with is Cade, obviously. Who he's competing with is THJ. So do you want to take away THJ's minutes to give it to Marcus Sasser? I don't think you want to do that. THJ's vet. I think he's been fine for them this year. His voice on the floor is really important. How he blends with his teammates has been really good for the Pistons, especially the starting lineup. I struggle to see how Marcus Sasser can continue to get minutes when Cade Cunningham is in the lineup. I just struggle to see it. Now, it's great. It's great to have this kind of option deep on your bench that maybe doesn't play all the time, maybe isn't a natural part of the rotation, but when things happen, someone maybe gets into foul trouble, someone gets hurt, anything like that, he's able to come in and play, and there's a chance you can get a production like this, 27 points on 12 shots. There's a chance you can get that from a guy like Sasser. Not everyone has a guy that they can just bring out of their rotation, put him in after not playing for most of the season, and say, yeah, this guy has the capability of giving you 25 plus if he gets hot. Not a lot of guys can give you that. Marcus Sasser can. The thing is with Sasser, there is a very clear pathway to the best way to use him. And it really, in my opinion, is the only way to use him if you want to get the max out of him and get the value out of him that he brings. And it is playing him next to a bigger guard. If he was able to play next to Cade, I think he'd look tremendous. He's a shooter. He can attack closeouts. He is an absolute scorer. If they want to help off Cade at the nail, play in the gaps, he kicks out to Sasser. He can either hit the 3, or if they hard close out, Sasser is enough of a shot creator and scorer that he can create off of that, get to his own bucket, get to the floater, maybe get to the rim, draw a foul, step back into another 3. He can do all that stuff. If he was able to play with Cade, then he'd be able to do that. And then he'd be able, on the defensive end, because of Cade's size, then Cade can go guard the 2 or 3. Cade can go guard a 3 or 4, whatever. And then Sasser can guard the point of attack, point guard. He can guard those guys. And he's fine at doing that. If that was the lineups the Pistons had available for him, I think he would flourish. I think he would play pretty damn well. I'm not saying he would be a superstar, but I don't have much doubts that Sasser can't or that he could do that. I don't have much doubts about him, his talent as an NBA player, his talent as a scorer, and his ability to shoot the ball. I don't have much questions about that. The problem is with Sasser is that he is 6'2". He is undersized. And he's not a point guard, which means that you have to, that's the kind of lineup you have to then create around him if you're going to utilize him. Because of his size, because of his inability to be a real point guard. You have to have a lineup like that around him. And unless the Pistons are going to take away some of THA's minutes, and maybe you can take away some of Tech's minutes. I know he's a wing, but maybe you could take away some of Tech's minutes, and then you could play, you could play Sasser next to Cade more often and stagger their minutes that way and find a different way to create your rotation where Sasser's minutes is coming with Cade on the floor. If that's the case, then yeah, I mean, if you can create minutes for him that way, he's playing well. If you want to find ways to get him minutes like that, then for sure. The problem is, and it's been unfair to Sasser, it has been. It's part of the problem of being undersized as a guard and then playing on a team that doesn't have very many options to put you in your best position. It's been unfair to him. Because again, like I said, I do believe he's an NBA player. I do believe he has NBA skill. It's just that if he can't play point guard, you don't want him as your full-time point guard. That's why they had to go out and get Schroeder. If there was a lineup, if this roster was built in a fashion where he could just be the off-ball scorer next to a Cade, or if they had another bigger guard, like that's the problem too with Schroeder and Sasser. Theoretically, offensively they could work. Offensively it would be fine. Defensively though, then you're undersized at both the guard positions. So it's like that's the tough part with Sasser. Is he playing well enough to earn minutes? I think it's a discussion, yes. I think he's playing it well enough to where JB's probably going to go into their next coaching meeting and say, okay, look, Sasser's playing tremendous. Is there a way we can kind of tweak this rotation to find a way to get him some minutes? I do think they'll probably have that meeting. For me, once you sit down and you look at it and you try to craft a rotation, for me, it's been hard to do so. Though I had some time before we started recording. I've been sitting here trying to find a way to craft a rotation that would involve him getting minutes when Cade's healthy. I struggle to do it. I struggle to find a way to make it work without putting him in a position that he shouldn't be in, that it's unfair to him. So he had a tremendous game. Again, the shot creation is legit. The shot creation, the shot making, that's all legit. He was fantastic to watch tonight. Moving forward when Cade's healthy, I don't know how he fits in. But again, like I mentioned earlier, having this type of guy on your bench that if someone does go down with injury or gets in foul trouble, to have a guy that you can insert and can just go off for 20 plus if he gets hot, that's not a part of your regular rotation, is a luxury. And it gives the Pistons a level of depth that they haven't had at the other points of their, over the last 10 years or so. They haven't had that type of depth. And now they have it a little bit with a guy like Sasser, with a guy like a Paul Reed. They have this type of depth now. So, look, if they do find minutes for Sasser, I won't be upset about it at all. He's playing well enough to deserve it. I'm just saying, me looking at the rotation they've currently been running and then trying to create one that puts them in with Cade, it's hard to do so. So if JB finds a way to do it, big ups for him. He's the coach. He gets paid all the big bucks to do something like that. But overall, Sasser, I think he's a legit player. He's a legit NBA player, legit scorer, legit shooter, legit shot creator. I feel bad for him. I'm not going to lie to you. I really do feel bad for him. I do feel like if he was on any other team that had the functionality within their roster that could open up these minutes, he would play pretty damn well. I do think he would be a pretty good player. But hey, maybe eventually the Pistons do find that. Maybe this offseason, maybe they want to open up some minutes for Sasser as like that scoring option off the bench. Maybe that happens. Who knows? Right now, I just think it's going to be a little tough. But if you guys have a better idea, if you guys have crafted up a rotation, figured out how to get Sasser into the lineup consistently with Cade healthy, let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter @Kukado. But this game, Marcus Sasser, you played out of your minds. You were fantastic, a fun watch. Tremendous shot making, man. This dude is an NBA player. There's no question about that. He can score. He can absolutely score the basketball, pure scorer. But coming up, turns out Assur Thompson's fine. He's all right. It turns out that all the freaking out over him maybe was a little bit overblown. We'll talk about that coming up soon. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. The links down below to the playback and the Substack. You guys already know about that. Hit the links down below. All right, so Ausar Thompson. I just wrote about this over on the Substack. I'll link that down below for you guys as well if you guys want to check it out. But we went through the film, the numbers, struggles. We went through all of it. It was a long article. I went through all of it. And one of the early takeaways I had in the article was the main issue is his foul trouble. He's been in foul trouble, which has made it hard for JB to play him consistently. And it's been hard for him to get into a rhythm when he's constantly being yanked out after 2 minutes, then coming back in, then being yanked out in 3 minutes, and then coming back in. And then being like, it's hard to get a rhythm on either side of the ball. And then if you are in foul trouble, it's harder for you, and JB spoke about this before and after the game in the pressers, it's hard for him to be himself and be aggressive when he's in foul trouble. It's hard to be aggressive when you're in foul trouble. So now you're not getting that real Ausar experience that most of us are accustomed to because he's having to dial back some of the aggressiveness that he usually plays with. By the way, I do want to say this. Ausar talks a lot more than you'd think at games. He talks to the refs. He doesn't do it in a disrespectful manner at all, but he does. He talks to them quite a bit. Ausar comes off as a quiet dude, and I've been able to interview him a few times, and he is more of a laid-back, quiet dude when I have interviewed him. So I wouldn't expect him to talk to the refs a lot, but at this game, he was talking to the refs quite a bit. He had a comment. It was a funny comment. He didn't like what one of the refs called on him, or didn't call for him. He drove to the rim. He thought he got fouled. The refs told him he didn't get fouled. He then walked up to the other ref during a free throw, and he was like, "Hey man, get your boy. He's not calling any fouls for me." And then gave him a chuckle. Overall, he talks a little bit more than I thought. I wouldn't have expected him to talk. But either way, point is, foul trouble takes away his aggressiveness, and when he's not in foul trouble, he's able to play more. He's able to play his normal self, and he's able to be aggressive. Another thing we talked about in that article was that his steal numbers were down over the last 8 games. And a lot of that, again, has to do with the fact when you're in foul trouble, you take less chances, you can't be aggressive. This game, not in foul trouble. Not in foul trouble at all. Plays 27 minutes. He has 14 points, shoots 6 of 10 from the field, hits a 3. By the way, he's shooting around 70% from the free throw line the last 10-ish games. His shot from 3 looks a lot more clean. He took one from the corner, and then he took another one with a semi-closeout coming in with confidence. Now, he didn't make it, but the shot looks a lot more smooth, and each time he took a 3, Fred Frinson was just super excited. There was a moment where Ron made a 3. I think Assur made a 3 in that same quarter, and they both came over to the bench, and Fred Frinson was celebrating with them. I heard Ron say something like, "I made sure to keep my elbow in on that one. I made sure." So they're putting in work. Asar's jumper looks a lot more clean. He hit a 3 in this game, like I mentioned. 14.6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. The Ausar Thompson experience. That's what you get. You're going to get numbers like this almost every single time he stays out of foul trouble and is able to play his game. That really is what it comes down to. Has he blown a few bunnies? Has he been finishing at the same level he was for the first 28, 29 games of his time starting? No, and we went into that into the article. The numbers, him finishing, were tremendous. He was around 70% finisher at the rim. Over the last 8 or so games, he's down to 58%. So he wasn't playing as well as he can. He wasn't finishing at the same level that he was before. That's true. But a lot of it just has to come down to, listen, stay out of foul trouble. You'll get your minutes, and you'll play well. I mean, JB spoke about this right after the game. He said he was really happy that this dude was able to stay out of foul trouble so I can actually play him. Which I absolutely love JB saying this. This is why I'm going to tell you guys. I know for a fact JB and everyone in that, I don't care what any of them say. I know they see Twitter. I know they see some of my videos. I know they see the talk amongst the community. I know they see all that stuff, all right? So I have to believe that JB made that specific comment because he saw some of the foolishness that was going around like, oh, JB hates Ausar. JB doesn't want to play Ausar. He doesn't like him. And then JB made a point in the presser after the game to be like, yeah, I'm just happy that I was able to play him. When he's not in foul trouble, I can play him. And he does this. When he's not in foul trouble, he will do this. So he made an effort to make it clear, I don't have, when he's not in foul trouble, I'm going to play him. He wasn't playing because he was in foul trouble. There's nothing more to read into it. I just thought it was really funny that the last 2.5, 3 months, we saw this dude literally be the second most impactful player on this team, completely switch their season around. as soon as he became in the starting lineup, and he has a few bad games in foul trouble, and everyone's, oh my God, what's wrong with Assur? Do we need to be concerned? JB hates him. It's like, let's just calm down. First of all, he was playing a little bit of a rough stretch. He wasn't playing that well. He hit a little bit of a wall, and he was playing a little sloppy defensively with his fouls. That's all it is. Stay out of foul trouble. You'll get this stat line from Ausar damn near every time he touches the floor. Sometimes you'll even get a better one. Fills up the stat sheet. He'll get steals. He'll get out in transition, create for others. He'll get downhill, get free throws, score at the basket. That's what you'll get from Ausar. He's a really damn good player, and he's not even close to his ceiling. He's really good. Just stay out of foul trouble, and he's good. So, turns out Ausar Thompson's okay, and JB Bickerstaff does not hate him, which was crazy to begin with, that this was something even being talked about. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Great team win from the Pistons, man. Did it without Cade. I asked Cannon during the game, if Cade doesn't play in this game last year, like, what does this look like? Like, it's crazy to see just how much a year has made a difference. That Cade can take a game off like this, and they win by 20 plus. Like, this team, all fans should be extremely proud and happy of this team. And even though it probably is, it's not going to end in the championship, I truly feel like that in 10 years from now, a lot of Pistons fans will remember the 24-25 Pistons team, because it was the start of something and it gave a special feeling to the season. I'm really happy I got to cover this season. I'm really happy for the fans, because this season truly has been fun as hell from top down, and I'm really happy for every single player on this team. This has been a fun ride, and great team win. Great team win. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Stay safe out there. And until next time, peace out, everybody.